breaking news in the Menendez brothers case. Earlier today, their attorney announced that there was a court date for December 11th for the judge to hear the resentencing. Now, at that time, the judge would be able to hear it, and he could decide whether or not, yes, they would be eligible for parole, and it would be life with the possibility of parole, or they could drop it down to manslaughter. Now, Gaston, the district attorney, did not drop it or request to drop it down to manslaughter, but a judge can actually do that in the court. I think it was smart on Gaston's part, but I'll discuss that in a sec. But the Menendez brothers' attorney filed for a clemency. Now, Gaston is saying that he supports that, and that would give them freedom before Thanksgiving. And that means they wouldn't have to go before the judge for them to hear the resentencing. Now, the funny thing about this situation is I definitely think that it is political, and for multiple reasons. We're coming up on election, and of course, the district attorney is a political position, and you have to be elected. And they're saying that he's not looking good in the polls, and he isn't. But he did ask for resentencing, but he didn't ask for manslaughter. He asked for the same charge, but life with the possibility of parole. And because they were under the age of 26, if they ended up getting life without the possibility of parole, they would be eligible to go for parole immediately. Now, they are asking for a clemency, and they also were going to ask at the hearing if they would be open to manslaughter. And simply if they looked at the law, they would qualify for manslaughter. I believe the reason why Gaston did not request this is because they were already saying that he was not really tough on criminals, and that's been what has been held over his head. Now, if he requested manslaughter, some people would be like, oh my goodness, no, they should get more for that, right? Keeping the same charges but requesting life with the possibility of parole is basically meeting people halfway. Like, I'm holding them accountable. They still have life with the possibility of parole. They still have unaliving charges, but we're just saying that there's mitigating factors. Now, if they go before the judge and they get manslaughter, then they overserve their time, right? But if he is in support of this clemency, he still was holding them accountable, but the clemency would have them out faster. And if the judge did the resentencing and kept the life with the possibility of parole, they would still have to go before the parole board, and who's to say when they would get out? So this is good news, but I will say this on my part. I think due to the current climate that we're in, life with the possibility of parole is good. Yes, they were abused, and I am in complete agreement with, I believe that it is true, based off of what we've been presented. But we also don't want to set the wrong message, especially in the uptick of children unaliving their parents. And whatever you do, you set precedents, right? And I think this is one of those cases as well. And you have to keep in mind also, as much as you don't want to compare Gypsy Rose and the Menendez brothers, you want to also look at the fact that, yes, Gypsy Rose did unalive her mom, and she is out now, right? And in the eyes of children, that is what they see, right? They're out and they become famous. Now, granted, I know for a fact that the Menendez brothers don't want fame, but it is something that kids look at, right? And so you want to still hold people accountable, but not too accountable, because you want it to be fairness. So it is a tough position. So I believe Gaston actually did a really good job at that. And I also would love to add that, again, the Menendez brothers have received or worked for multiple degrees. They have also started plenty of programs to help with victims of abuse learn how to cope, right? They've also been working with the elderly in hospice and the disabled, and advocating for abuse victims, as well as advocating for prison reform. Now, These are men that never believed that they would ever have an opportunity to get out of prison, but regardless, they wanted to make better of their lives. And I think that says a lot for them as brothers or as people, right? Because if you know that there is no opportunity of you getting out of prison and you still work to do your best, and again, I will say, someone working in hospice care or with the disabled, that is someone that has a servant's heart. And yes, they committed a crime, and I'm not taking that from them, and I don't feel like anyone should erase that or act like it doesn't exist. But I do believe that there's redemption, and there is definitely redemption in this, because their actions have spoken louder than their words. So I think that this is a good thing. I hope they do get out soon. I'm not so sure if I'm okay with manslaughter charges, but I get it. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me, but I do believe they should have another chance at life, and I do think they've done a fantastic job with doing the best with what they have and doing the best in the position they're in. I think that speaks volumes about who they are as people. Whereas when you compare Gypsy Rose, she was in prison for 8 years and all she got was a GED. She didn't help a single person. In fact, she was allegedly hanging out with chumos. So when you look at the difference, it's very vast. And granted, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, they were different ages. The Menendez brothers were actually younger at the time of the crime than Gypsy. But I also want to mention this, and I know a lot of people might dispute this. I think part of this is because of the fact that we live in a world where men and women are looked at different. Women are looked at more as victims and men aren't. And I think there's unfairness when it comes to this. And that is part of what we are seeing. And in terms of even fighting for justice for Nicholas GODEJOHN, I want people to keep that in account. If Nicholas was a woman, I think things would be very different. And people would not look at it the way they are. And these are things that I feel like we need to really pay attention when we're fighting for justice. But I'm hoping that the Menendez brothers are home for Thanksgiving. If not for Thanksgiving, definitely for Christmas. Drop your comments down below. Let me know how you feel. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now. One last thing that I want to mention is Nicholas GODEJOHN. And the reason why I want to mention Nicholas GODEJOHN in this video is because the DA did say that his reasoning for reconsidering what was going on was because of the public outroar after the Netflix series. I want you guys to really truly understand that. What he's saying is that the public mattered. So if we make enough noise, it will matter. Whether it's on the internet, whether it's a rally, however we do it, it needs to be public outroar. If that makes sense. We are powerful and we need to make a difference.